First, so reverse the date.
Okay.
Reverse it.
Oh,
No. Yeah, and maybe like less hands. So let's do this since date,
since
like the 5th. Yeah, that looks. Minimize this. That looks
okay,
like enough. All right.
let's go.
Yeah. Do you play on PokerStars?
Yeah.
Cool. Why are you playing 15s though?
Uh, Unfortunately, after 5,000 of 30s, I did a strike of 1,000 spins at a very low zip. So I got demoted to 15s for a bit.
Oh, really? And are you playing those right
Yeah.
now again?
Excuse me.
So that's what you're playing right now?
For now, 50. I must to
Make a
hear
100 CV.
yeah 100 by NV.
Yeah, that happened to me also once in the past. Mm, that's pretty annoying.
Yeah, it's a bit sick, but it's a good things maybe for me to improve some position and fix some leaks before return to 30s.
Yeah, and I mean it's good that you're keeping a good mindset and everything. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess a lot of the play will be against weaker players then, which is totally cool. So let's look at how you're playing these spots, basically.
Okay. So this is mini race from Fish
Mhm.
or Info. She did our pot of same. I just call here because I have I I didn't know if in this spot it's better to race, but in this I just called because I have mm, much cards when I got did another call on the turn, or I can improve my hands. But sometimes I go to raise here with king of spades.
Yeah, I think generally I prefer to call. Mm, just because like if we raise we have to get the money in, but I don't expect so much fold actually. So
Yeah.
if I don't think he's going to bet fold, then I usually just call against c bet.
Okay.
I have a question.
Hmm.
Uh, in this situation, isn't it better to raise bigger and put all in because we are have open ender and flash draw?
Yeah, I mean, um, that's what. I mean, it's definitely not a mistake because you have so much equity, and I think it is fine. But the thing is, I just don't see him folding very much at all. If he's c betting on this board, so if he's not folding, we don't have much of a advantage against his range. So, like it's like taking a small edge. Um, when you can just keep the pot small in position, basically, and like reduce variance. So, like, yeah, definitely raising is fine with the intention to get it in, but there's also nothing wrong with calling. Like when you're in position, it's fine to like slow play more and not raise as often from these positions.
Okay. Jacks on turn, and he bet big size.
Yeah, just call.
Okay,
Like,
I fold, and 9 on the river, and I give up in this spot
um,
because I don't know if he fold some 7 that he could have in his range. Uh, mm, I think with this stack pot ratio, fish don't fold very happy.
okay.
Some 7.
And like, how much, how often does he need to fold to make this profitable? To make this shove profitable?
Uh, if exactly,
What's the formula?
I don't know exactly.
Like,
Mm,
what's the formula? Like, how do you calculate that?
Chips which we invest, like which we can win, like
Exactly. So, how much of the chips we invest?
274,
Mm-hmm. And
678, 76. So yeah,
exactly. So the formula is 274 divided by the money already in the pot, 412
okay,
plus his investment. So it's 274 divided by 412 plus 274, which would be 274 divided by 600 and something basically. So um so you need how much fold equity around?
40%.
Right. You need exactly
yeah.
around 40%. And so do you think you have 40% fold equity here?
Uh,
If you're not sure, you can open Flopzilla and we can try and do
okay.
this quickly. But what's your initial thoughts? Do you think you have 40% fold equity here?
I think he could have some spades on his range, some medium pair, maybe some I don't know.
Okay,
Mm,
like we're gonna do that in Flopzilla, what his range is. But before, like, before you put a range to him, like, do you think you will call if you shove over 40% of the time? And then we'll
oh,
check in Flopzilla, yes or no?
okay, allora so.
You need to small blind versus big blind min raise. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do that. Okay. And um, right now what you need to do is filter the flop. So you need to give him the hands that he has. So like, uh, firstly, you shouldn't include every single flush or like probably straights he has sets
Pairs, okay,
over
flash.
pairs. Like give like right click on that, yeah, and change it to like like 70% or something, or like 80%.
Okay.
Wait, one second.
Yeah.
Oh, he already paid? Okay, okay. Thanks. Bye. Yep, see ya. Okay. Flush is also 80%. And top pairs like 80%. Middle pairs like 60%. And even weak pairs we can give him like, 40 or 30% or something.
I don't think I made no. Okay.
And yeah, okay. Like got
Jack 9.
And you should also include some draws, obviously. So like on the flop, go back to the flop. So you need to include, go back to the flop. And you need to include like some gut shots and flush draws. So like, firstly, not all flush draws. So like 70% of flush
Now we
draws.
have like
1 second.
wrong board. So yeah,
Oh.
you have to.
Yeah.
Do not click.
Okay.
Okay. Like you need to include some also like no made hands, for example, some 20% at least or something. You need to include some nut flush draws, but like 80%. You need to click that. You need to learn how to do this quickly by yourself. No, click here, yeah. Alright, second nut flush draw. Right click on it, and like, oh, you have that, so never mind. Okay, the third nut flush draw, weak flush draws, both of them make them like 60% or something. Open-enders make them like 40% or something. You know, like you need to give them a range basically with every single time you do this in Flopzilla. You need to give a range for everything. Like he's not going to be c-betting 100% of his gut shots, and I'm just telling you what something as an example, but you should be able to like figure out how often he's doing this yourself basically. All right, let's get to this turn, the turn of the jack.
Jack diamond.
Okay, so now he's barreling, and he's barreling with a big sizing. So what cards is he doing this with? He's doing it with like
Flash, straight, I think set, 2 pairs, over pair, 2 top pair.
Okay, but is he doing it always with that sizing? Probably not always. So
No.
like flush might be betting smaller, for example, to protect. So maybe it's like, yeah, 50% or something. Straights make sense. Sets make sense.
Yeah.
2 pairs make sense. Over pairs make sense. Like top pair, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Okay, and then we can also include maybe some more pairs, like some middle pair. Like again, how often do you think he's doing it with middle pair?
I don't think much of
and weak pairs.
Pairs, do you think so? Because I think they're gonna be scared of overcard. Often, like fishes are checking when they have like a second pair.
So I'm not totally sure here. So it's your guys' perception here, basically. If you think it's 50%, that's cool.
I don't think it's high or no made end.
Why? Like this is good card for him to barrel.
Yeah, like definitely he's gonna be barreling some no-made hands, so you need to include some of them. So definitely.
Okay.
Like
maybe 30 or
even more, I would say, because like when we call, like he's probably perceiving our range like a weak pairs or like some kind of weak draws.
So maybe like 40%. Cool.
Okay.
And then these again, not always. He's probably barreling quite often these hands.
Yeah, I think max 20.
Why do you think he's only barreling 20%? He can barrel a ton.
He's barreling like no made hands 40%, so flash draw gonna be like 60 plus. I would say even like 70.
Definitely a lot more.
Okay, so.
So at least 50%.
Okay.
And the same with the other flush draws. All of them, yeah. Okay, and like with open-enders, again, like 40%, like with the no-made hands, basically.
But you can unclick, I think, like no flash draw, right? Because we pick the no-made hands by like ourselves, so I don't know. Like.
Yeah, you don't need this. That's useless. Alright, you should include gut shots though, for sure. Like 40% should be good. Alright, so now this is the turn range. So you need to filter that and bring the river.
9.
9. Alright. And now we need to put in his checking range. So what is he checking to us on the river? Not a flush. Maybe like,
No.
you know, 5% of the time or something. You can still, or like 10%. Probably, actually, I probably wouldn't include any flushes. Just get rid of that.
Okay.
No, like a straight, he might be checking. Like, how often do you think he's checking a straight here?
The big one, like, oh, okay, because like it's gonna be like
Maybe
some of them only with 8x, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
I think like 40%, I would say.
Probably like even less, like 30% max. So
Maybe
I'd say
we can
25 or something should be
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's fine. And then sets, how
Set.
often is he checking?
Yeah, I think he could check.
Like more often than streets, right? But
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
like 60% or something. Same with two pairs.
60.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Two pairs, I think it's a check for him.
Mm-hmm. No,
Over
we make
pair.
it like, again, two pairs, like 80% or something.
Okay. 80.
Okay, over pair, and then all of these we can make him check, basically. Check, check, check. And weak pair, yeah, probably like 90%, don't let him bluff. Okay, and like, we can make him check some ace high and no mate hands as well. So check, check, and we can say like, he can check like how often do you think he's checking air here?
like not that often.
So,
Uh,
what is not that often?
Like 30%.
30%, cool.
Yeah.
Same for his eye.
Yeah. Okay, so now this is basically his range, okay?
Okay.
And so he's got 65%. So right now we need to know what is 40% of 65%. So that would be
Yeah. It's something like less than 30%, right?
that'd be around 26%.
Yeah.
So it would be like
We
so
don't hear you. Like, stop.
right now we need to get rid of the hands that he is folding if we're jamming, basically, okay? So if we jam, what hands is he jamming? He's definitely jamming all of these bottom three. So get rid of those three. Get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. Yeah. And like, now out of the rest, he's always calling these. And then the others, it kind of depends on his tendency. So what we need to do, like, let's include he's calling all of these and say that with these, he's folding like, how often do you think he's folding an overpair?
Over there, 50%. Maybe
Alright, 60%. Yeah, you can, so he's calling 40%. And how often is he calling top pair? Probably the same.
less, maybe less.
Okay.
35.
Okay. And then the other two, maybe like even less, like 20 or something.
I think he could he fold ever. I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
fine.
but
like you should include some hero calls, yeah. So like make it
Okay.
20. Just because some people will call for sure.
Even for middle pair. Fine.
Yeah, maybe. All right. So now we brought this number. It used to be 65. We brought it down to 25. So he has folded like
for
way
40. Yeah,
he's
like we
folded,
need to be break even like 39. Or like if
yeah,
this
we
would
need
be a
40% fold equity. But he's folded way more than 40% of his range. He's
Yeah.
folded like 60 something or maybe even 70% of his range. If he's folding 40% of his range, before it was 65, um, and 40% of 65 is 26. So to find out how much how much VPIP, like how much percent of hands he needs for us to break even, it's 39 because it's 65 minus 26, and that would be 39. So if this number is lower than 39, then it means that we have a very profitable shove. And like here, it's way lower than 39.
Yeah,
So it
much
means
profitable.
so it means that we have a very profitable shove spot in this spot, as a bluff, obviously, and we have a ton of fold equity. And so we should be also not only jamming with a king, we should be jamming here with a 5, with a 6, maybe a 7 you can check.
Okay, so turning bluff some 5x too.
5x for sure, and 6x probably also.
Okay.
Because like we've got so much fold equity.
Yeah.
Because we only need 40% fold equity. So in order for us to have a break-even jam, he needs to call at least 39% here. But he's only doing it 26, so it's massively plus EV to jam. So yeah, you can definitely jam the river.
Yeah.
It's cool because even like this board is like not gonna be c-bet with air that often as we like put there, and it's still like good to do it.
Yeah, and now you can see like how to calculate these spots basically. Obviously, yeah, let's keep on. Jam.
Raise.
Okay, next hand. Not interesting.
Yeah. Raise call. Back. I bet here.
Yeah, and you should just be barreling basically.
Even on these two.
Yeah, just
Here I checked because on paired cards maybe I thought that wasn't a good idea.
yeah, but he's got a lot of like king high, ace high, so just bet like 60 and jam river.
Okay.
And like that's one of the problems I see with like players playing like 30s or 60s or lower. It's that they're too passive in general. Like just because it's a paired turn doesn't mean you can give up, because he shouldn't have many twos. If he's check calling, he definitely has some like overcards, and we can just fold him out of them. He's never folding a 6, but like he's folding a ton of overcards. Unless you have info that he's calling down with ace high in this spot, you should just barrel.
Yeah, and these aside in these turns about 90.
I'd bet 60.
Oh, okay. So for maximize his calling range.
Yeah, and just jamming rivers.
Okay.
He even called with queen jack.
Yeah. Just call. Same bet on this side.
Okay, here like on the flop, I'm very often just checking back, because again we've got king high and we've got backdoors to the backdoor flush draw, the backdoor straight draw, so I can easily call turn bets from him. So I don't see a point in like betting and trying to fold him off an ace high, or like turning our hand into a bluff basically.
Okay, so it's a better bet without equity, and say in this spot because we have some backdoor, it's
Yeah.
better to check.
It's a rather similar concept. Again, like backdoors, especially king high backdoors, do very well as a check back. Backdoors without showdown value do very well as bluffs. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes, makes sense.
Now the ace comes. you could honestly just barrel.
But he opened 3x pre-flop. You think like for
I
chain
wrote
liquidity?
there was a much aces in his range, so I
Yeah, but
checked.
like the thing is, like basically you're playing a fish, so it doesn't matter what his pre-flop sizing is, and basically against fishes you just triple barrel. And why do you do that? It's because population overfolds to barrels. It's that simple. And so yeah, he might have an ace, but he's gonna be folding a 6 or a 5. We can have tons of aces or queens or like whatever flushes, and like they just fold way too much because you're playing a fish. So against fishes, just keep it simple and basically just triple barrel in from this position a ton.
Okay. There is. Yeah, I checked for king eye. I have Shulambare.
Yeah, that's fine. Um, but like you need to know the population statistics, right? So how much do fishes fold to a float bet in raised pots?
On about 40%.
Yeah, around 45%. And how much do they fold to barrels on the turn?
Even more.
Even more
Mm,
or less?
mm,
Around 50%.
Exactly, yeah, it's around
yeah.
50%. So it's even more, basically. So as you see, like barrels are just super, super profitable, both against fishes and regs. And so population's way over folding, so you can way over bluff. So against a reg, I might not be barreling, but against a fish, definitely.
Okay. Call 40. Just call with 2 overcards.
And fold.
Yeah. I
Call.
call 3x. I call.
He's like 3xing at 13 big blinds, so I think you can just fold. It's a fish,
Okay.
and
So
so you're really shallow. So
yeah.
the shallower you are, the less you call. If you are above 16 big blinds, I could call, but at this stack depth, it's just that um, he's got a much stronger range than at higher stack depth. Also, he has min raised before, so this looks even stronger.
Yeah. And what is our bottom range of call here?
Probably like 9-10 suited.
9-10.
And
Okay.
then like uh, queen jack off and king jack off. Yeah, now you hit a gut shot and you have to do this. And you have to like basically bet and shove the turn. But you're in this spot and you're not too happy because you might not fold him
Yeah.
from like, I don't know, whatever he has. And you have to jam. Okay, so too passive, not barreling enough on turns.
Okay. I thought in this spot I got a free card on the river and maybe jam on the river.
I mean, there's
But
not.
then your line doesn't make sense that much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, and you should definitely not jam on this river. Okay.
Yeah,
No.
I tried a small bet here for maybe represent some mid end and maybe you could fold some aces or king high.
I don't think he's folding ace or king high to that size on this river. Just give up the river.
Yeah.
And you should just be like jamming the turn.
Okay.
If like you have equity and that's why you fold pre-flop also.
Yeah. Yeah. Versus tricks. Sometimes I go for some call that maybe I can fold easily versus this open.
Yeah. Okay, definitely raise. You need to raise. Whenever you have a pair plus equity, so especially hands like this, they're very good to raise. So here, it's like you raise call because you've got top pair. So even if he has a top pair or an overpair, you've got like 40% equity at least, basically.
Okay.
And if like he's got a draw, you're usually a favorite. And like this is a very good hand to be using, like to raise and get the money in, basically. You've got it's kind of like you're merging your range here. It's both you're kind of bluffing because you want him to fold some of his range, but you're also kind of value betting because you've actually got a stronger hand than some parts of his range. And so these type of hands are very good to use as bluffs. I'd much rather be calling with, for example, Jack 8 or something, or like some mediocre kickers, and maybe the worst kicker like 8-2 or 8-3, and the mediocre ones, and then raising the strongest ones like Queen 8 plus or King 8 for sure, and raising also like open-enders plus pairs because plus like top pair because you've got so much equity with this hand.
But the cashless like actually recommends the like the pair plus like I don't know like about the top pair is probably raise as you said, but
Yeah,
like second and third pair it's like with good draw it's still a call.
yeah,
Yeah.
with
Just probably
second,
protect like turn.
yeah, with second and third pairs, I'd usually be calling, but with top pair, I'd usually be raising, plus draw, and also that totally that was more for flush draw plus pair in general. I think that comment from Crashfest, because like on flush draw boards the board is nowhere near as connected as this. Over here, the board's very connected, so we're raising for value, and like people are like we're not happy to face barrels on this board necessarily, so it's just a way more practical to raise here as well. Like
Okay.
definitely raise here.
A 6.
Okay, well I guess you bet. You have to bet for value. There's still tons of draws. A 7 isn't folding, so like just bet. Like you can even like basically like bet a big sizing and stack off if he check raises because you still have a draw plus top pair. So you like the minimum sizing I'd bet here is 180, but I might even just pot it because like when you pot it, people might start check raising more with like draws because they're like, oh, he's putting in so much money, like he's putting in 240 chips, so now I'm already committed, so I'm just gonna check shove my draw here because I don't want to like face a river or something. So tons of fishes play like that. So definitely bet super big on the turn.
Okay. Donk on the turn isn't good or
Sorry?
a lead on turn here.
You're not leading. You're betting after he checks. So you're float betting basically.
Okay. Here I check. I tried to maximize value from 7. Maybe
No, but like
call some 7 or call some 6.
you're targeting mostly ace high because 6 is barreling the turn.
Okay,
So
yeah.
he doesn't have many 6s. 7s probably firstly they don't usually bet that size on the turn. He bet pretty big on the flop. Secondly, 7s would usually barrel on the turn if he has it. So I don't expect him to have a 7 so much. So I think the hand you're targeting the most is like some high cards, ace high, king high, stuff like that. So the best sizing to get a guaranteed call is like 80 chips or something.
Okay.
And
So,
also the good thing about 80 chips is sometimes you can induce a spaz raise. Like for example, he might sometimes have like, I don't know, Jack 9 or something. And if he has Jack 9, like, he might decide to check raise all in because he sees the small bet. He thinks we have weakness, but like he can't really call, so he just check raises all in against a small size, like 80.
yeah, makes sense. He fold.
And also he's almost never folding a king high or ace high there.
Yeah.
Shove, pre... Oh, okay, never mind. Just
And
next hand.
Do
Just
you use
fold.
the same sizing with the bluffs on the river, like 80 on the flop on the board when he had 5-8?
I wouldn't have any bluffs, I think, because I'd either bluff on the turn or I'd just give up, probably. I wouldn't like be bluffing on that board much, because I either have to risk a lot, go back to the previous hand with a 5-8,
Yeah.
go to the river, like, yeah, here I would either start the bluff on the turn or I'd just give up in general on the 8, because like the 8, I mean, yeah, you could definitely bet like even 60 just to try and fold out like 9 high or something stupid, but like I probably wouldn't bluff in general, because like we either have to bet like really big to fold out like most of his range. Basically, we fold out most of his ace highs when we jam and stuff. So we'd either have to bet like 180 or something just to fold out a small part of his range, um, or like we can try betting small, which folds out just the tiny pot. So, but like people fold less on double paired structure. So I wouldn't be bluffing much on the river. I just start bluffing more on the turn quite a lot.
Just call 60.
Yeah,
Just
especially
call.
you've got like tons of backdoors. This is a great turn
Yeah.
for us. Okay, and here without info, usually I'm calling. If you have info that people are just barreling super wide, you can just jam.
Okay.
The reason to jam against some people, against most people, definitely call. But against some people, it's cool to jam just because you've got bottom pair. So, and there's lots of draws here. So he might be barreling a lot with, let's say, like a 7 or an 8, or just like overcards, or like 8-10, or some better flush draw or something. And you get, firstly, from those hands, you cut his equity from that. You force him to either call and get the money in bad, or fold and protect your hand. And like he can make some tough folds with like a 9 even, so even a 6 can fold, and also you prevent him from triple barrel bluffing on the river. So if you have reads that people are like very aggressive and they're barreling rivers and they're barreling turns, and they just bet, like those are good people to be raising here, just as a semi bluff.
Okay.
But calling is standard, realist.
This is first hand, I think, in this spin versus him.
Yeah. Fold.
So,
And that's why you can like shove on the turn if you got
yeah,
reads.
just call.
Call.
30. Call 30. Another call.
Check. Well played.
This is a reg.
Okay.
Call, check. I check here with my bottom pair and gut shot.
Yeah.
60.
Yep.
Just call and fold.
Yeah, that looks good too.
Call. Check, check at the air with medium pair.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I'll
Call.
call. Okay. On
Um.
this eye, I thought that there was a much ace high that he could check on the flop
Yeah.
and barrel on Turner River then. So I didn't expect much bluff in his range here.
But
Yeah.
don't you think so that more like often like they're gonna bet bigger with ace on the turn, and like he's wrapping only this?
Yeah, that's true. But I like being solid, basically. Um. Like the flush still got there. I like to be solid. We don't have much info on his bet sizings or anything, and it's readless.
Yeah,
And definitely ace-x is still part of his range. Fishes can definitely just bet half pot with value. So I like to be solid in this spot.
40.
Yeah, definitely calling.
Uh,
Okay, next
okay,
hand.
call, call on flop. On this
Betting.
queen, I bet it half pot. Maybe I could bet some some more about 100.
Uh, I think, like, yeah, something between 80 to 100 just to get value from ace high with a spade, basically. Or that's what you're targeting.
Folds.
On the flop, these are spots I like to check. Just top pair
Okay,
plus weak kicker. It just, again, I like to keep the pot smaller. We're not going to be able to triple barrel much. We got two streets of value, so we can easily call twice, unless like a bad turn and river come. So I generally prefer to check with top pair weak kickers just to protect our range.
okay. Check again. Here I did for a big
Yeah,
size.
now you're probably betting twice and then checking rivers as played.
Folds. Yeah, the plan it was check on the river and then check.
How much do you
But
bet on the turn if you check the flop with top pair there?
Um, Bigger.
Sorry for the delay, man.
So the pot would be 80, and as a delay, go to the turn. I'd bet probably 60.
And like versus delay, like half pot, would you raise? Would you call just
I
on
just
this
call.
card?
I just
Mhm.
call.
okay, he check. Half pot.
Yeah, good spot to be turning your hand into a bluff here. It's super wet, and like we can definitely triple barrel. But I wouldn't bet so big actually. On this spot, I'd just bet like 50 chips because I want him to call more, and then I have more room to triple barrel. Like right now, if you bet 80, it's going to be 320 on the turn, and you'll have 360 left.
Yeah,
So I want to set up for a triple barrel. So I'd rather bet like 60 max. 50 is good, and then bet small and shove rivers.
makes sense.
Okay, and like now, just bet small as well, just to deny equity. Bet like 100, around 100 chips, 120, and like um yeah, bet like 110 or something. Get value from the weaker pairs, get value from the flush draws, and check back on the river. Don't face a difficult decision, because if you check here, he might bluff sometimes, and then you're in a tough spot.
Okay,
So you're betting on the turn to avoid being bluffed.
100, about 100.
Yeah.
Okay,
And on this one, would you call ever?
Depends
This
the
bet?
size.
Mhm.
Probably not though. And that's why I like to bet on the turn so that I
yeah,
don't have to fold.
Call.
Okay. Checking down now.
And here,
Uh,
I think I folded here. Yeah.
mm,
I don't see the point of him to check turn and bet on this four.
okay. Yeah, it's pretty close, but I mean, like, it's possible that he's still doing it sometimes, just to try and fold out, I don't know, Jack 10 or Ace highs from time to time. So I don't mind calling, but this is
But also, guy gonna have like some slow play hands over here, I think.
yeah, for sure. But I mean, the odds aren't so bad. We need to be right a quarter of the time. So I don't mind calling. Folding's okay.
Okay.
It's pretty close here. I don't think it matters too much.
This is a reg from Smart Spin. Thursday. I just
Generally, like raise with top pair against c-bets. Also, your kicker's good. So here I'd
Yeah.
raise based on the strength of the kicker. So Jack 10, I'm definitely raising for value, and I'd probably basically raise like Jack 10 plus for value and call with worse kickers.
I called just on this board because I thought there was not much and to extract some value from him on this dry board.
I
He
mean, you shouldn't worry about that, because firstly, there's plenty of worse 10s. He might still be c-betting a 7. Sometimes there's a few draws. He might not always fold ace high, stuff like that. So yeah, we should just raise.
okay.
I have a question again. If you raise, how much do we raise? 2.5 because it's a dry board, or
Yeah, I'd raise
Yeah.
70 to 80 chips.
okay, thanks.
Bet. Just like there's so many draws, and like he'd usually bet with a queen. So like we beat his 7s, we beat his 10s. So just bet.
Okay.
Bet.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't did a bet. I don't know what you could call me here. So I checked. I don't know.
He might check call with ace high sometimes, so I just bet like half pot on the river,
Okay.
and like you just need to like bet and try to like deny equity basically, or like get value. Yeah, you're being too passive. You're not thin value betting enough, so that's not good. You need to increase your aggression quite a lot.
Yeah. Please call.
Yeah, that's fine.
Call.
And barreling. Good.
100 folds. This is a reg. I have some hands with him. Here I check. I didn't bet.
Okay. Yeah, you don't have anything to go with your hand, so it's fine.
Yeah, versus reg, I think he could call king aces, or maybe
Yeah,
he
sure.
could check some 7. Call. Versus these sides, I just called on my flash draw.
Yeah, I'm like never raising here.
Okay. Take some time.
I have again question. Against smaller sizing, are you check raise here, like 40 chips?
Probably not, cause the board's too wet. Like I don't see much fold activity. Like when they raise preflop, this board hits them super hard. So they might just be betting a queen or nine or straight draw and or bet a flush draw, and so the fold activity won't be high. So I don't see a point in raising flush draws, especially if you have to like get it in if they re-raise, and actually you maybe can even fold if they shove,
Yeah.
because like your flush draw is really weak. So I would just be calling almost always here.
Thanks.
Check
Check.
check. Yeah,
That
we got showdown
then
value, fold, easy.
fold.
That's fine.
3x.
Fold.
Fold.
Yeah, because like it's 3x, and again you're
Yeah.
11 big blinds deep.
Yeah.
So like the shallower you are, the more you have to fold. Pretty simple, basically. Well, nice flop.
Then simple then.
But look at how dominated you are. Okay.
Yeah. Just call.
Yep. You have to call. That sucks.
I think I called here, but isn't a great spot to call because even if I close flash draw, I don't think that he could call
Yeah,
uh,
you have to
a dumb
call.
shot.
Like your flush draw is the second best one, so you still have to call. You might occasionally win if he checks the river. The king comes. I'd probably call. Cause like I mean, he might have a king, but like a lot of draws missed also, and he's not betting a 10 with that sizing on the turn usually. So he's repping now a king, a straight, a flush, or a busted draw. And there's quite a few busted draws basically. So let's actually open this hand in Flopzilla again, and like we have to uh like this. Let's make this our last hand, and we'll do this in Flopzilla. So yeah, this is his pre-flop range again. That's fine, and then 7/8 king, cool. And we have to put in the filters for what he's c-betting. So once again, probably like he's betting most of his value on this
Yeah.
situation. So like sets and two pairs, yeah, over pairs probably 100%, and top pair 80 is good. Middle pair like 60 and 40. I think that's also cool. Ace high probably a bit. I don't know, like maybe
Maybe.
10% or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. No made hands 20%. Yeah, cool. And then flush draws, like not 100%, like 70% or something. Yeah, and open-enders and gut shots, that looks okay. Maybe a bit more, like 50 and like 40, to be honest. Yeah. And backdoors, maybe like 20% or something. Yeah. And just get rid of these. Just get rid of these.
Okay.
And let's go to the turn.
Yeah. Okay.
And you have to put in your heart.
Yeah.
Queen of exactly, good.
Okay.
And the
Then,
turn.
yeah.
So on the turn, we can say he's barreling basically 100% of his flushes for value, all his straights, all his sets and two pairs, or like let's say 90% of two pairs. 90% of top pairs. Or like maybe 80% of top pairs actually. And middle pairs probably not. Like checking. No made hands. Okay, that's fine. Not flush draws. Yeah, we should include some flush draws. So I think 50 is fine. Probably all of these are okay. Yeah, I think all of, or like open-enders. Maybe less gut shots, like 20% or 10% of gut shots.
Okay, 10.
Yeah. And like right now, you see the odds you're getting. So you're getting 31% odds, and he's betting less than pot. So you have to basically call, especially considering you got some inclined odds. So that's
Yeah.
why you have to call. And now we can bring the river. And it's the king. And so he's jamming on the king. And obviously he's jamming 100% of trips. Yeah. 100, straights 100. Over pairs, maybe 40% is cool. Get rid of these though. Never.
I don't think middle pair.
Get rid of that, yeah. And then get rid of that. And no made hands, so include. And we need to make it like some 30% or something, like 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
Flash. Yeah.
Yeah, all flushes obviously. Okay.
Again,
And
quads, but
yeah, okay, sure. And maybe ace high as well. Like we can include like 20%, 20% of ace
Okay.
high. Yeah. And filter. Okay. I wonder why, like. Okay, go back to the turn.
Doesn't have no made hands, like, I don't know, like 2%. That's why
Yeah.
most gotcha and like stuff get there because it's a like streets open and that's
Yeah, but I mean, what happened? Go back to the flop, like.
20%.
No, but that's fine. Like, I don't think he'd be betting too much no-made hands here. I
okay.
just don't know why he doesn't have many like nines or jacks on the river, basically. Okay, so go back to the turn. Maybe increase gut shots more to like
Maybe
40%.
40.
Yeah, and like the flush draws something. Yeah, that should be fine. Maybe include more of these. Like just click that. Okay, and now go to the river. Yeah. And it's still like the same situation basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I was totally wrong. Go back to Flopzilla. Go back to Flopzilla. I want to look at it.
Oh,
Yeah, it looks like we didn't make any mistakes in the calculations, and it's basically a clear fold. He's got too much value apparently. Okay, so it's a clear fold on the river. That's cool.
yeah.
Well played. Okay, no, last hand.
Yeah. This is a reg.
Yeah. Call.
90.
Fold.
90. Yeah, this reg often he bet 1 BB on flop and sides close to pot on the turn.
That's a totally
Yeah.
cool way to play, right? Because like
Yeah.
against 1 BB you have to call a lot, and then you have to fold a ton of your range to the
Yeah.
second barrel. So it like his play is not bad, and it like a lot of regs are starting to do that at hundreds as well. So it's a pretty
Yeah. So
it's a pretty cool way to play these type of spots. So I think his play is cool. All right, let's end the coaching here. Let's try to sum up. Like, let's summarize some of what we talked about. KU, what what were your biggest mistakes and what did you learn?
To be passive, I must. I need to be more aggressive and don't play so passive on the boards where I have some value, and I can study short better on Flopzilla board of I can turn in bluff or bluff my opponent where there is more much mid pair, weak pair or air he can fold.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And definitely barrel more after you float bet. That's for sure. You can raise more top pairs for value. You can like bluff more after they check if you call on the turn, and you can also value bet thinner in general. So definitely like in general you're too passive. Yeah, that's one thing for sure that I noticed.
Yeah.
And yeah, try to do more work in Flopzilla. Okay, I think that will be it for this